Hello friends, welcome to Live Here Do Mathematics. Today we are going to talk about theory and geometry of Riemann integration. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting session. Please stay till the end and please share this as much as you can. Please friends, share this session. Okay, so thank you friends. So let us start. So now let us understand what do we mean by Riemann integrability. So before that, let us define some things and understand some little things. Okay, so first we all know that this is closed and bounded interval. So closed interval AB be a closed and bounded interval. Okay. Now suppose if from closed interval AB to R be a bounded function. Okay, so closed interval AB is a closed and bounded interval, and if from closed interval AB to R be a bounded function. So the function is bounded. Okay, now since the function is bounded, so supremum and infimum will exist. So before that, let us take a partition P of this interval AB. So a partition is a set of points like this: x0, x1, x2 up to, suppose this is xn. So we have taken n plus 1 points x0 up to xn. Okay, now how this is a ordered set. Okay, actually the a partition is a ordered set. So here x0, so x0 will be the first point, that is a equals to x0 less than x1 less than x2, and like this we will go up to xn equals to b. Okay, so this is, let us take a partition this of closed interval AB. Okay, so now since closed interval AB is closed and bounded, now look one thing. So x0, x1 up to xn, this is a partition. So this partition or these points divide the closed interval AB into some subintervals like this. So the first subinterval will be x0, x1, then the second subinterval is x1, x2, like this up to xn minus 1 comma xn. Okay, so these n subintervals, the partition divide the interval closed interval AB into n subintervals. Okay, so since F is bounded in closed interval AB, F will be bounded in each of these subintervals, because all these subintervals are subsets of this interval closed interval AB. Okay, so F is bounded in this subinterval also. Now since F is bounded, supremum and infimum exist. So now let us suppose that this capital M is the supremum of fx, where in this closed interval AB. Okay, and let us take that small m is the infimum of fx in closed interval AB. And for these subintervals, let us take that capital, because F will be also bounded in these subintervals, so supremum and infimum will exist. So let us take capital M R is equal to supremum of fx in these subintervals. So here we will take x belongs to the subinterval x r minus 1 comma x r. Here if you put r equal to 1, 2, so where r is equal to 1, 2 up to n. Put r equals to 1, you will get x0, x1, r equal to 2, then x1, x2. So like this. And let us take small m r equals to infimum of fx in the subintervals x r minus 1 comma x r. Here also r goes from 1 to n. Okay, so obviously the infimum in the whole interval, that is small m, is, so the infimum in the whole interval means infimum in this closed interval AB will be less than or equal to infimum in the subintervals, and this infimum will be less than or equal to supremum in the subinterval, and this will be less than or equal to supremum in the whole interval. So this inequality is valid. Okay, and here so r runs from 1 to up to n. Okay, so suppose this is our equation 1, though it will not be so huge for now. Okay, so now let us consider this sum. Okay, so now MR is the supremum in the interval xr minus 1 comma xr. Okay, so what is M1? M1 is the supremum in the interval x0 x1. So we take M1 into x1 minus x0, that is supremum into length of the interval. Similarly, add this to the supremum of the interval. So if we put r equals to 2, then this will be x1 x2. So M2 is the supremum of the interval x1 x2 into the length of the interval is x2 minus x1. Okay, so similarly like this we can go up to mn times xn minus xn minus 1. This is the length of the nth interval and this is the supremum in that interval. Okay, and this is called the upper Darboux sum of f corresponding to the partition P and is denoted by UPF. So this is called upper Darboux sum, DARBOUX. So this is called upper Darboux sum corresponding to the partition P of closed interval AB. Okay, now similarly in place of supremum we can consider infimum. Then this is the infimum and this is the length of the interval, so take the product. Similarly we can consider M2 times x2 minus x1, so infimum into length of the interval, and like this mn into xn minus xn minus 1, and we consider this and we denote this like LPF and call this as the lower Darboux sum corresponding to the partition P of closed interval AB. Okay, so now we have learned what is upper Darboux sum and what is lower Darboux sum. Okay, so what does we get for each P? Look here, if we vary P, so UPF and LPF will change basically. So for each P, because why these will change? Because if we vary P, the length of the interval will may change, and in those intervals supremum and value of supremum and infimum will also be changed. So for each P basically, for each P belongs to closed interval AB, that is for each partition P of closed interval AB, that means we can denote this like this. So for this is PAB, the script PAB is called the family of all partitions. So let us take a partition from the family of all partitions. Okay, so basically if we vary P, okay, then for each P we will get two numbers, UPF and LPF. Okay, these are two numbers. Okay, so now we will try to understand the geometry of upper Darboux sum and lower Darboux sum. Okay, now consider this. Okay, so suppose this is our graph of this is the fx, this is the graph of fx. Okay, now so here is our a, that is a equals to x0, and here is this is our b. Okay, b equals to xn. So we have taken the points x0, x1, x2 like this up to here is xn. So before that will be xn minus 1 b. This is the partition. Okay, now draw the vertical lines x1, y equals to x equals to x1, xn minus 1 like this. Okay, now look, in this interval x0, x1, this is the interval x0, x1, the functional value fx0 is here, this is fa and this is fx1. Look, what is the supremum? Here the graph is increasing, so the supremum is here, fx1 will be supremum. Look my friend, if we change this picture, the supremum will change. Okay, so here this is supremum fx1 because of this graph. Okay, I am trying to tell you based on this graph. Okay, if the graph changes, the supremum may be here, For some graph, if the graph was like this, okay, here would be the supremum. So it is not always true that the supremum will be in the endpoint. Okay, so for this graph the supremum is here. Okay, if we consider this graph the supremum is here. Okay, so for this graph the m1 will be fx1. So basically m1 times x1 minus x0. What is x1 minus x0? Look, x1 minus x0 is this. Okay, so if we consider this rectangle, okay, so this is our x1 minus x0 and this is our supremum, this is x1. Okay, so we are getting the area of this rectangle. Similarly, when we add this with the m2 times x2 minus x1, so here m2 is supremum in the interval x1 x2 and the supremum will be m2. For the m2 supremum will be this. Okay, now, and x2 minus x1 is the length of this interval. So then if we add, we will get the area of this rectangle. Okay, so this is the height and this is the base of the rectangle. So m2 times x2 minus x1 gives area. So similarly, that if we add all the upper Darboux-Sums, so we will basically add all the rectangles like this. So in each time we get this area as axis. Okay, similarly, when we calculate small m times small m1 times x1 minus x0, so m1 is infimum. So when you calculate infimum, then our rectangle will be this, because the infimum will be here. Okay, the supremum is this and the infimum is this. So this will be the corresponding rectangle, and for this rectangle this will be the corresponding rectangle. So when we consider LPF, so we get the sum of these rectangles basically. Okay, like this we will get the sum of these rectangles. So when we consider UPF, we get some extra area. When we consider LPF, we get some less. The area calculated is little bit lesser than the actual area. Okay, and when we calculate upper sum, the area we get becomes little bit greater. Look, this part is greater, and when we calculate LPF, this part is small, this reduced. Okay, so this is the geometry. Okay, now if we can refine the partition, that means if we add points and make these rectangles thinner like this, okay, how much thinner the rectangles become, the area will be very closer to the actual area. Okay, so to get a good to get the integration value close to the actual value, we have to make the partition refine as much as we can. Okay, so that is the basic idea, my friends. Hope you have understood the video well, and please stay tuned with us. In the next video we will consider the relation between UPF and LPF, and then we will go how to define integration with respect to UPF and LPF. So hope you have understood the video. Please stay tuned with us and share the video with your friends. Please share and subscribe. Thank you.